if you're obsessed with detail, which you're probably going to be, you will end up rejecting it. But that's not the important part of religion. The important part of religion is wisdom. And wisdom is what's really going to get you there. So read some old, read wisdom, seek wisdom, and you will end up being years ahead. Just with what this will come back to the Dave Ramsey thing. With your mom and I, we've been doing the Dave Ramsey thing for 2 years. Okay, 2 years, and that's about it. Less than, and we almost have our house paid off. We own we own everything. There's some minor student loan debt that we're going to take that technically her parents are paying. It's something that we'll be able to write off in a few months, and it's not even really our responsibility at this point. But we're going to own everything and have fundamentally no debt, with an asterisk on it. That's astonishing. That we're in our mid-30s, and we are ahead of people that are twice our age or more after 2 years of effort. Not being that remarkable in terms of our income. I'm enlisted, which is basically a lower class job in a way, upper, lower, middle, whatever. Your mom is a different tier, obviously being a doctor of psychology, but the money there isn't that crazy. I know truck drivers who made more. So you have to realize that getting ahead and improvement in your life is 99% you. It has nothing to do with who you vote. Well, not nothing to do with who you vote for. It actually does matter who you vote for. But it's going to depend on you. Nobody will ever be able to give you anything. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you will be years ahead of people. You will improve at a rate that will astonish people. And they're not going to know how to deal with it. They'll just look at you blankly. Study everything. Everything is interesting. So let me run by you a couple of books that you should probably read. Read a Dave Ramsey book. I don't care which one it is. Read a Dave Ramsey book. Understand how destructive debt is. It will destroy everything. You should also read Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. Very important book. If you did nothing else but read Thomas Sowell, who's probably the smartest man in America right now. He's retired, unfortunately, but he is a genius. And Thomas Sowell has so many important lessons. His articles are not very good, but his books are amazing. Read Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. Also read The Fall and Decline of the Roman Empire, abridged version by Edward Gibbon. And here's where we get back to the Star Wars stuff. The Fall and Decline of the Roman Empire is a better saga than Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings combined. And for that matter, I'm a big Ray Bradbury fan. Anything that Ray Bradbury just pales in comparison. Every paragraph of Edward Gibbon is an education. The Fall and Decline of the Roman Empire. Those are probably one of the two most important books that I've ever read. And then I would also recommend reading anything that has to do with American founding, whatever you can get your hands on. I'm a big Jefferson guy, and I like reading his letters and all of that stuff, but you would pick a person and learn everything you can about them. So I would recommend one of two people. I would read everything I could get of either Thomas Jefferson or James Madison. And a third person is actually Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy. Very complex character. Very interesting guy. Not what you would think he would be at all. Actually a very good man, but by all measures. Just an astonishingly good person and an astonishingly principled and intelligent. I would love to know what his IQ was. I wish we could get a time machine and measure that. But these are some of the most brilliant and insightful people in the world. And always remember that too. The most brilliant people in the world wrote to you. And you can either watch TV and then catch up on what's on your favorite TV show or comic book movie, or you can have a conversation with the most brilliant and interesting people that ever existed, like Darwin. Why would you waste time with anything else? It's a waste. Don't waste your life. Another thing, and I'm sorry this video is so long, but you're my kid, so you can suffer through it. And a dad with a pause button, that doesn't get any better. Learn to fight. So my dad was not competitive in a normal sense. Competition is a way of packaging some of our worst parts of ourselves. So you'll find that a lot of morality is just people being self-righteous. And what they really do is they don't improve themselves. They do what the Christians call is exercise. They engage in exercises of hypocrisy. So they will go out and say something like, right now a big controversy is refugees from Syria. The United States has no reason to bring refugees in from Syria. None. There's no plus for it to us. And versus taking care of them where they are and helping them there, it's actually more expensive and we help fewer people. But people want to act as we are Americans and we sacrifice ourselves for all others. And they're not going to sacrifice themselves. These people are usually they live in gated communities. Syrians aren't going to live next door to them. They're not going to work with people whose religion is a couple hundred years backwards. They are going to put those people, well, they're not going to put them anywhere, but they're not going to live where they are at because they're rich and they can just pose. They can act as though they are the important ones, but they're really not sacrificing anything. They're sacrificing someone else. They're sacrificing somebody else's town, somebody else's community. And competition, in the same way that you have a desire to be moral, and that can be turned into a self-righteousness, and it can be turned into hypocrisy. But it can also be channeled. You can actually want to become more moral and become more moral, but it's a constant process. And the problem is you'll always face that challenge. And this is where the competitiveness stuff comes in, is that competitiveness, in the same way that philosophy and self-examination is a way to become more moral without becoming self-righteous, which you'll never actually achieve, by the way. You'll always feel, if you do something better than other people, you're going to feel like you're better than them. And then right after that, you remind yourself that you're not better than them. But you are, but you're not. And you're just going to have to go back and forth. The best compromise, by the way, if anybody ever accuses you of thinking that you are better than them, is simply say, well, I don't think that I am, but I'm sure trying. And that's what you should be doing. You should be trying to be better than everyone, including yourself. And don't let people who don't try to drag you down so that they feel better. But you have to contain these impulses, and learning to fight or be competitive is a way of shocking your system, because you lose, and losing is important. You need to get your butt handed to you from time to time. You need to know that life ultimately in the universe is cruel and unforgiving, and it doesn't care about your feelings. And once that happens, your attitude starts to change. You start to care a little less about your feelings. Your feelings become more resilient. One of the things, Malcolm, that I want to do is I want to put you through. I would like you to go through a basic training day camp at some point. Even if, whether or not you join the military, when you're a teenager, I hope to convince you to go to a summer camp where you go through an army kind of, you're digging trenches, you're making comrades and all that good stuff. But in any case, learn to fight, learn to be competitive, contain your impulses, and drive them towards something good. Because competition, the desire to be competitive, takes aggressiveness and it puts it into a framework where you become self-correcting rather than attacking. So there are two ways that you can go about your day. You can either be like socialist and you can go, hey, there's a guy with stuff over there. He has so much stuff. We should take it from him because it's just unjust. Or you could go, here's what I want you to be. why does that person have all that stuff? Do I want that stuff? Do I want stuff like it? Maybe I should go talk to them and ask how it happened. And if I'm not saying there's never injustice when people have a lot of things. There can be. They could be thieves. They could have been dishonest or something. But competitiveness will channel your aggressive instincts into self-improvement. So if you you have to enter the world with other people, and you can do one of two things. You can either go up with a club and bash their head in and take their things, or just to be vindictive, because you'll be surprised what kind of instincts that you actually have. Human beings are very brutal primates. We're animals, don't forget it, and we have animal instincts, and that they. I'm not going to tell you that they're disgusting. We have to have them. They're necessary for survival, but they hurt a lot. It hurts. These instincts hurt, and we have to contain them, and we have to direct them. So you can either hurt a person, or practice your free throw, or practice scales on piano, guitar, right? Or one of the realms I hope that you become competitive in is in the realm of knowledge. Arguing is one of the best things that you can ever do, because you will lose most of the time at first, and just like boxing or something else. And so you get this immediate dose of humility, and then it forms you, it reshapes you, and you become capable of engaging in conversation with almost anybody under almost any circumstances, even when they're incredibly hostile. It's awesome, and you start to win because hopefully you'll be objective and you'll change your mind. Not immediately. Don't try to act as though you're a super objective person. But over time, your ideas will shift with argument, and then you'll start to win arguments. Because especially if you're actually studying and reading those good books that I was telling you to read, you're going to know more than even a lot of educated people know. I've been rambling on for half an hour for you. There's a lot to say about all of these things, but if you wanted to know what your dad wants for you, it's probably these three things are the biggest deal. Also on the competitiveness thing, one thing I would add is it would probably be a good idea to learn how to fight. Don't be obsessed with it. None of these things are absolute. I'm not telling you they're the most important thing, but like fighting, it'd be a good idea. Maybe if you ever get a chance to learn how to wrestle or do jiu-jitsu, don't do anything that gives you concussions, or has a high probability of giving you concussions. But you should learn how to be in a physical fight. Learn how to handle a gun. And I say that this is to my other children as well. Boy or girl, you should probably be involved in that at least for a summer, right? Know what it means. It actually doesn't hurt that much to get punched or slapped. It's not as shocking as you think it is. And then once you've experienced those things, you'll have a lot more confidence, because you'll realize to what degree people can really hurt you, and which brings you to another book that you should probably read, which is the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Find a good translation. Find a funny translation. I have one. I don't remember who did it, but one of the things he talks about is, he goes to work every day, and he's met with very immoral people. They're surly, they're short with him, they're outright evil. They're selfishness, and they've never tried to improve themselves. And this is the emperor of Rome, and this is what he has to deal with. I can almost imagine Donald Trump writing the same kind of thing at this point, but. He has this challenge of dealing with awful people, but he says, look, they can't hurt me. What are they going to do? And it's not just because he was the emperor. He said, you can't make me ugly in the same way that you're ugly. You can't implicate me in your crimes. In that sense, you can never hurt me. And in physical fighting, you realize really to what degree you can be hurt. Because most fights you'll find are. And I don't know how to fight, by the way, so this is totally hypocritical for me to tell you these kinds of things. But hopefully I'll learn. Most fights really just end up with a couple of punches, maybe one or two, or slaps. And then maybe wrestling. You end up in the clinch.